All right, morning, everyone. We good to go, Patrick? All right. All right, good morning. Welcome to another meeting of the Informed Prostate Cancer Support Group. I'm glad you could all make it here today. Such a big audience. I love to see it. Special thank you to the Sanford Burnham Prebys Medical Discovery Institute that allows us to use this auditorium. It's very gracious that they let us use this room. As a reminder, please, there is no food or drink allowed in here. So after the meeting, please don't bring any of the luncheon food back in. And even that applies to coffee and water containers. Can't open them inside. So please respect their wishes for no food or drink in here. The principals of our organization are myself, director and facilitator, and president pro tem until we find a more permanent president. Any of you willing to take over the role, it would be greatly appreciated. Jean Van Vliet, director, Bill Manning, director and video editor, John Gottlieb here today, treasurer, Steve Pendergast, our secretary and newsletter editor, John Tassi, our webmaster, Bill Bailey, our librarian, and you, of course. There's 900 members, and everyone is a volunteer. And today, I'd like to have all of us give a special thanks to Phil and Mike, who put on our luncheons. Can I please get a hand of applause for those guys? Yeah, they definitely do a lot of work to make sure that you have a nice lunch after this, planning for a various number of people, going out, buying the food, preparing it, and cleaning up afterwards. And please, if you are willing to hang around and help out clean up, we would all greatly appreciate it. How many new people do we have today here for the first time? All right, we've got, it looks like 3. Please keep your hands up. Mike's going to bring around a sheet of paper for you to fill out with your contact information. With your contact information. Please do fill that out and return it to me here at the podium. Also, I'd like to bring to your attention an information kit. We don't print those out anymore, but here is the link to our website for all of that information. Please just take a picture of that with your phone right now and do reference that. There's a wonderful amount of information there, especially directed towards new members. And please do sign up for your email announcements. Based upon the cover sheets I get back in, I will try to add you to our mailing list, but some people write as well as their doctors, and I can't read the handwriting. So the best way is to go to this other link, the Contact Us link, and sign up for our emails and newsletters. That'll put you into our database, and you'll hear about future meetings. You'll hear about future cancellations of meetings if there are any, et cetera. And I will try to contact each of you. It is best to come up to the podium afterwards, and we'll try to chat for a few minutes to see how I could best direct you to some new information. I'd like to do a little survey today, as a lot of you have seen in the past. This is especially important for you 3 newcomers. You that might be considering future treatment. A bunch of us are about to raise our hands indicating we have experience with that particular treatment. So look around the room and think of someone you might go up to later, start a conversation asking them about their experience. So we've seen the 3 people here for the first time. Who was recently diagnosed? Raise your hands. Recent meaning, hey, it's an important topic to you right now, trying to decide what your first treatment is and haven't decided to, say, pursue active surveillance versus something more active. How many have had prostate cancer for less than 1 year? Okay, a few of you. 1 to 4 years? Okay, 5 to 10 years? A lot more of us. 11 to 15 years? And longer. Do we have any longer? We have a lot of people longer in the audience today. The key message there is that prostate cancer is not a sentence. It's 2 words. Whatever it said on the first slide. You have a long life ahead of you. There are amazing treatment options today that can return you to a state where you didn't even know that you had prostate cancer in the best case. You might be showing up here with a lot of angst on what you're going to do next, but be reassured that there is a long life left ahead of you. How many people have had active surveillance? Go ahead and raise your hand. How many people have had surgery? Radiation? ADT or hormone therapy? Chemotherapy? Just a couple here. Focal treatments such as HIFU, laser, cryo, or TULSA. Just a couple. Well, this is a new, interesting, especially the TULSA procedure is fairly new, and a lot of people have questions these days about that. So your experience can be quite useful to share. How about new treatments such as Provenge, Xofigo, and Pluvicto? One here. I know Gene couldn't make it today, but he's always got his hand up for all of this stuff. There is somebody in the audience that typically has had every variety of treatments that are out there. Incidentally, in October, we will have Dr. Dato here to speak on Provenge. So that should be a pretty good meeting. How many people have had recurrence where they were treated, the cancer went away, and now it's back? Yeah, that's why quite a few of us are here. And who is undecided about their future treatment? I think half the audience should be raising their hand. Our support to you comes in the way of the website, also our YouTube channel. All of our meetings are recorded on YouTube. It is certainly wonderful to attend in person because you get those one-on-one interactions with other members to hear about their experiences, but you can access all of our past meetings online. Our meetings are the third Saturdays of every month, except in December, and we also have our newsletter, which is available on the website, email, and by mail. How many people have seen the newsletter in the last month? How many people have seen this month's newsletter? Really? Because I don't think it got published. Gotcha. So Steve Pendergast had a little medical procedure and that he's still recovering from and has had a lot of difficulty completing the newsletter. It would really be useful to have somebody else who can step up side by side with him to help put together the newsletter. How many people typically read the newsletter almost cover to cover? Anyone? Okay, all of you that have your hands up, you could certainly volunteer to preview the newsletter and edit it. Just give your feedback and say, hey, I saw a typo here, or yeah, this didn't quite work. So if you would be willing to do that and get your hands on the information ahead of time, please do email me. Let's see. My email will be on the next slide. And certainly if somebody has Microsoft Publisher experience, that's what Stephen uses for putting together the newsletter. And I'm sure he could also show you how to use it, but it would be really useful so that we don't miss out on any future newsletters. I think Stephen does have the backlog set up so that once he's able to, he will publish the back issues, though. And we do need volunteers. It's time to bring on more understudies, including a new president. We do have people helping out with signing up meeting guests, believe it or not, today. And I think 2 of the other meetings earlier this year have really been set up by, not me, but members in the audience. And thank you so much for making those suggestions. I'm also not even good at following through on some of those suggestions. John Cutter. He's offered quite a few opportunities for speakers, and I need to follow up. But any suggestions would be very useful. If it's somebody you want to hear from, hey, suggest it, and we'll try to bring them in. We're only asking for a couple hours a month of your time in most cases. I do want to point out John Love, who filled in for me last month, he basically made that meeting happen. If it wasn't for him being able to be here while I was out of town, we likely would have canceled the meeting. So how about a round of applause for John, please? I even get nervous being up here even on my, 50th time or something. So it doesn't have to be a difficult task. I did make it fairly easy by preparing the slides. If you're willing to be a stand-in, if either I or John can't do it, please do offer your services. And so if keeping this organization running is important to you, please email me. That's my personal email address. Make the subject line pretty obvious so I can go back and search later on and see who is volunteering, and let me know your contact info, your phone number, what you'd be willing to help out with. I'd like to point out there's an upcoming conference up in LA. The Prostate Cancer Research Institute, PCRI, is having their conference next month, just a couple weeks away. This is a working discount code for 50% off, although the price, I believe, is not that bad to begin with. Why don't anyone that is planning on going perhaps meet up here around the fire extinguisher right after the meeting? It might give you the opportunity to carpool together, because it is a fantastic conference. I've seen videos of it in the past, and patients get up there and basically say, hey, world-renowned doctor, this is my case. What do you think I should do? It is a great opportunity.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Sure.
It's a 3-day event. Is it necessary to go all 3 days, or is it like Saturday the main deal?
I don't know myself. I would guess Saturday is likely the main deal, but do check out their agenda online. I'm sure all the details are there. I think even just attending one day for certain talks that might be of most interest to you can be useful. Yeah. Now, our support group purpose is we share patient-focused experience on becoming your own case manager through informing, networking, and caring. We are a group of experienced participants, but we are not medical professionals, and any sharing by any one of our group may not be a substitute for your own medical counsel. And we do need your support. Can I get some volunteers to pass around the baskets, please? We are a 501c3 organization, and so our donations are tax deductible. There's no medical or religious affiliations. Our largest costs are our website, advertising, mailings, getting the videos up online, etc. So please do make a donation today. Making a donation today is certainly preferred, but you can also use the PayPal link on our website. Or you can send a check payable to the IPCSG. And note, this is a new address as of, I think, close to a year ago, so it's not terribly new. And think about the value that you get from this organization, the quality of the doctors that we bring in here, your ability to get answers from those doctors without either paying a copay or seeing somebody outside of your insurance. It's a great opportunity, and so I do hope that you give deeply to support this organization. As for our upcoming meetings, next month, I've finally gotten it together to bring in a couple of patient navigators, both from the UCSD system and the Scripps system. If you haven't met these ladies, Paula at UCSD and Christina at Scripps, they can be invaluable to helping you navigate the system, dealing with whatever issues it might be. If you're having a problem with insurance, they can direct you to the proper channels to help you through any kind of roadblock, getting a second opinion, etc. I am also hoping to, I was hoping to bring in the navigators from Kaiser as well. I'm having a little trouble getting them to return my calls, but I know that they're busy. In the case of Kaiser Permanente, all of their radiation patients get sent to UCSD for treatment. And Gina over at Kaiser works very closely with Dr. Munt at UCSD and does an amazing job of getting patients through from Kaiser into the UCSD system, which you can imagine can be complicated. So this should be an interesting meeting next month. Please bring your questions. Please also bring your the issues that you've seen in the past, and to get their advice on what would be a better way of solving that issue within their system, whether it's how to get a second opinion outside of their own hospital, or even some of the rules of receiving a second opinion within. I would like this to be a very collaborative meeting with a lot of discussions from the audience. It'll be less about presentation and more about discussions. John.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a pitch for Paula Robbins. I had personal interaction with her through Genesis Healthcare when she worked for Genesis. After I got my diagnosis, I learned I could get a second opinion. And Johns Hopkins offered that second opinion. And I downloaded their forms online. And it was like downloading an encyclopedia. So I went back to Paula, who was my patient navigator at the time, and she said, let me take care of that. She took care of the paperwork, got me an appointment, got my slides sent to Johns Hopkins, and I got a report back from Johns Hopkins within the month. And so and basically what they did is they confirmed my diagnosis. So that made me feel confident to move forward with what I wanted to do, which was proton therapy. So, you know, it's not a matter of like not trusting the system, but it's nice to get a second opinion so that you can sense that, okay, we're on the right track here. Okay, so just 2 cents.
Thanks. Yeah.
Back, she's fantastic, and folks trying to consider your treatment path, if you're in, these are a great consultant to go through that. They can introduce you, you know, surgeons want to cut, radiologists want to smoke you. So they can introduce you through these different things to get more of an unbiased, so you can come up with your decision. And they're really great. They're a great resource. She's fantastic, Paul. I know Christina.
Great. So just one question first. So who here is in the Kaiser system? And have any of you interacted with Gina over there in the Kaiser system? I'm seeing some hands that went down, some people shaking their heads and stuff. I'll try to get Gina to come. How about the Sharp system? Does anyone in the Sharp system and do you even know who the patient navigator is there? Because like for me, I was fed into the Sharp system by way of Genesis. So I wasn't aware of any standalone Sharp. But I'll look into Sharp as well to see if they have someone. I didn't do it.
Chris and I are both in the Sharp system. I can ask my patient navigator if you like and email it.
That would be great. Sometimes it seems the patient navigators are specific to prostate cancer, but I think in the case of Christina, she's just oncology patient navigation. So yeah, if please do, and email, did you get my email address? LambDA13, yes. Yeah.
Is there a space?
No spaces, yeah. All right, and how about Genesis, Unio, anyone specifically working with them outside of Sharp? Okay, and do they have a patient navigator on staff now? Okay. Okay.
Hold on. I tried to get a hold of Gina 3 months ago with an email. She never responded, and I did some detective work only to find out that she apparently no longer works for Kaiser.
No, I did not know that. She actually showed up here at the January meeting, and actually Dr. Munt met her in person for the first time here. And was just like, this is the woman at Kaiser that makes it all happen. So I'm sorry to hear that. I'll contact Dr. Munt and see if he has whoever the new contact is. Thank you for that info. Thank you. How about, is anyone here from the Palomar Hospital system? I happened to meet a doctor in their system recently, and he said that he does refer his patients here. And how about the VA system? Anyone here in the VA? I know we have not had, we do have a couple guys here. Do they have a patient navigator? Okay, all right, all right. I know that the VA can be a little bit challenging. All right, so on to today's meeting. Today we have Traci Roberts, MS and RD. She is a registered dietitian who counsels people on their dietary patterns to improve health and help treat diseases. She specializes in nutrition counseling and medical nutrition therapy for individuals with chronic illnesses such as cancer. Roberts is part of the multidisciplinary pancreatic team at Moores Cancer Center at UCSD Health, where she has worked as an outpatient dietitian since 2019. Please welcome Traci this morning. Thank you. As always, please try to keep your long questions to the end, but if you need a point of clarification on a certain slide, be sure to just raise your hand and ask a question. So, Traci.
Am I on part of this?
Oh, yeah. The important part there, yeah. Okay, it should be set.
Right.
And then I just use forward and backward.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Traci. Just a very quick housekeeping note. Who knows how long we'll go today? I have at least 45 to 50 minutes of content, and I'm sure we'll have a really good discussion. Please, if you need to get up and step outside for a drink, use the restroom, I will not be offended at all. So please be comfortable. If you need to come and go, that's okay. I absolutely don't mind. One other point of background is that my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2018. And I wish so much for him that he had a group like this. Like, what a wonderful resource. He lives in Missouri, so there was no way for him to join you guys. But it's really wonderful to be here to see everybody at different phases and stages and sharing their experience and their information. It makes me think of my dad. He's still with us. He's doing great. But I really wish he had this kind of support. So this is a wonderful group, and thanks for inviting me.
Just an FYI, since we record all of these meetings, your dad can get each meeting's content if he's interested.
That's a great point. Thank you for that reminder. I will definitely direct him to the website so that he can go back and watch past meetings and this one. And hi, Dad. Thanks. That's a really good point. He will attend virtually from now on. Okay, I want to give you also a little bit of background on myself. Here's me. On the other side of this picture that you don't see right here is my son. I just cropped him out of the photo. We were on a bike ride. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Missouri. I got my bachelor's degree in biochemistry and chemistry from the University of Missouri. I love biotech. I worked in biotech for many years. My first job in biotech was at 10835 Road to the Cure. So this is like coming home, except at the time it was called Altman Rowe. I worked for the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center and went through several different companies within biotech. My last biotech company was a startup antibody therapeutics company, which was at 10835 Road to the Cure. So I started and ended my biotech career here. So this has been fantastic. I decided a few years in that was not quite the career for me long term. The thing that was missing for me in research was this. The thing that was missing for me was the connection. I was developing drugs at a very early stage and I never saw where they went. And becoming a dietitian put me right into the mix and being able to have conversations with patients and trying to impact their lives in some way. So I pivoted, took a hard right, and got my master's degree in nutritional sciences to become a dietitian. So after my program was finished, I became a dietitian at UCSD, where I have been for the last almost 7 years. In 2022, I had about 5 minutes of free time one Saturday, so I decided to apply for a doctorate. I've been working on that for the last 3 years, and I should be graduating next spring. Everyone knock on wood. And then after that, thank goodness for my husband, there's no more school to be had. So I think I'll be done at that point. So today, I kind of wanted to structure my talk in a specific way that kind of follows my path of learning, even starting from biochemistry. I love that I came into nutrition with a biochemistry background. This has helped me immensely. And of course, with all the school that I've gone through, knowledge is so crucial. And you can deep dive into knowledge as deep and as broad as you want. However, something that I have learned since working specifically with patients over the last few years is that knowledge does not get you there alone. There are skills that need to be developed and implemented that take that knowledge and translate that knowledge into action. So we'll talk a little bit about skills today as well. That all has to be within the context of everybody's own individual abilities. We don't all come to the table with the same hand. We have different amounts of time, different amounts of resources. Some of us have support and care partners, a new word that I learned today. We don't all have care partners. So each of us have different abilities which color our skills and our knowledge that lead to outcomes. So that being said, I just want to put into context knowledge. Again, we can get very into the weeds when it comes to nutrition and when it comes to research and when it comes to science. But I want to make sure we have a plan for putting that knowledge into action, not just squirreling it away in our brain for information. I want to introduce the team at Moores really quickly, just in case you are a UCSD patient and for any reason you have not been connected with a dietitian. How sad. There are 5 of us that work at UCSD, and we work Hillcrest, North County, at Moores. If you haven't connected with a dietitian, again, highly recommend it. We're a wonderful resource for patients at any phase, from the point of diagnosis to answer all those questions into survivorship. We're happy to answer any questions and help you guys with your nutritional journey.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Good question. So we are a referral-based service. So I know any physician at UCSD knows of our team. We just need a nutrition referral. So if you go to your care team, ask for a nutrition referral, they'll write that up, goes into the system, and you get put into a work queue. Our scheduler will reach out and contact you. Our goal is within 3 days, but we'll see. The goal is to contact each patient within 3 days to schedule an appointment. All of our dietitians are well-versed in all different types of cancers. From my bio, my specialty is pancreatic cancer, but I have lots of experience with prostate cancer. So all that to say, like, there's no right or wrong dietitian. We all work well together, very closely together with all the teams. So they're all wonderful. Take your pick. Just in case you are not with UCSD or just in general, I really like to offer, I'm sure you guys have resources for where to go if you're looking for nutrition information. There is a minefield of nutrition information out in the world. We do not recommend Dr. Google. It can be very confusing. You get conflicting information. You start to get into debates about what's the right or wrong way to eat. But these are our well-vetted, evidence-based nutrition partners. I want to especially call out the American Institute for Cancer Research. They have a wonderful website, and they have something called the Continuous Update Project, or CUP. Has anyone heard of the CUP? Okay, the CUP is all of the latest research that has come in on a particular disease site. You can go to the CUP and you can look at prostate cancer and you can get a report. They will also show you their literature review. So they've done all the digging and the research for you. And if you would really like to get a lot of information specifically about prostate cancer, I highly recommend, that's AICR-CUP. You can Google that one, because it will take you to their website and give you a lot of good information.
Tracy,
Yes.
I did put some brochures out front for the Prostate Cancer Foundation, which has a lot of great information if people would like a hard brochure to take
Okay, now let's get into it. The first kind of area that we're going to talk about again is that knowledge base. I want everyone to have a good nutritional knowledge base. Something that has helped me as a dietitian coming from research, coming from biotech, is when I read a research study, I have a healthy dose of skepticism. Not all research is created equally. Just because it was published in a journal doesn't mean that it applies to you. So looking at knowledge and understanding a good foundational nutritional knowledge is really important. So let's start there because that's the basis of how we're going to make some decisions about what we eat, what we do, what nutrition is important to us. I love showing this slide. I show this slide in almost every talk that I give when it comes to nutrition and cancer. There are a lot of risk factors that go into a diagnosis of cancer, and diet sits squarely in the middle. I love this. I'm a dietitian, of course, I think that nutrition is important, but I know that sometimes we can maybe get overly involved in our food and what is the right nutrient and what is the wrong nutrient and what did I eat that caused my cancer, or what am I eating that might fuel my cancer. I want to put nutrition in an important place, but not the only place, right? There are a lot of factors that go in to diagnosis, risk, disease, recurrence. Nutrition goes right in the middle. So we're going to talk about nutrition, but in the context of this bigger picture as well. This is also one of my favorite slides. So we think about nutrition, and I love to get these old ads that talk about what was healthy and what wasn't healthy back in the day, right? Margarine was like the thing. Butter was not good for some reason, so everybody started eating margarine because that was better for you. We now know that margarine is not so great for you. This is one of my favorites too as a mom. Kids need the energy that candy gives. So if your kids are feeling a little sluggish, just hand them some cellophane wrapped candy and you're good to go. Like, what is he hiding behind his back here? I'm a little concerned about that child. I'm just now getting over a cold that I've had all week long. Apparently, I should have been drinking some whiskey. This is the only drink that stops a cold. So this is what I should have been doing all week instead of fluids and rest. And I love looking at these old ads. We laugh at them and we think about how silly they are because, you know, things aren't like that now. We're smarter than that. We know more than that now. But do we know more than that? Because we still get these messages now about ways of eating and things that can overpromise what might be good for you or not good for you. So it's just kind of a word of caution when we think about nutrition. If we're getting information from ads, magazines, commercials, please don't think that this has gone away. It has not gone away. It's just changed form and been updated a little bit more. We're still getting, I'm not going to say bad information, but I'm going to say upside down information about what is good and what is healthy. I mean, I have had patients on the carnivore diet. That's been a fun conversation to have. You cannot get your nutrition from a powder called super greens. This is not the way that we want to go. So again, we just kind of want to be aware of our environment and the messages that we're getting because they can still be confusing and conflicting. So where do we go? If we want to know, well, what's the truth? What's the truth about nutrition? I do want scientific rigor. I do want evidence. What are the experts saying? And it doesn't sound fancy or sexy, but the dietary guidelines for Americans is that body that look at all of the nutrition research that has gone on and they make recommendations. If we look at the recommendations from 1980, when I was running around with pigtails, the recommendations from 1980 are pretty simple. Eat a variety of foods, maintain an ideal body weight, avoid too much fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol, eat foods with adequate starch and fiber, avoid too much sugar, avoid too much sodium. If you drink alcohol, do so in moderation. So a lot of times people will come in and they say, I'm so confused by nutrition. Every time you turn around, a recommendation has changed. First, eggs are good for you, then they're bad for you, then they're good for you again. It's really hard to understand nutrition because it seems like it's always changing. If we look at the dietary guidelines from Americans in 1980, this is what, 45 years ago? So let's look at 95. How have things changed in that 15 years? Balance your foods with physical activity to maintain a healthy body weight. Choose a diet with plenty of grain products, fruits, vegetables. Listen, this is just the same advice. They've gone through 15 years of looking at the data and looking at the research, and it's the same recommendations. They just had to change the graphic. They're like, maybe people will get it if it's in circles instead of with numbers. But the research holds true through that intervening time. We get to 2020, and the 2020 guidelines were like, listen, maybe 7 is too many. Maybe we need to just condense everything down to 4 guidelines. So they make a new graphic. But if you read everything here, it's all the same recommendation. The dietary guidelines for Americans and their continuous look at the data and look at the research has held steady since their invention. We want to have a lot of dietary variety. And this is so important, if I can leave you with one thing. We really focus on nutrients. We get hyper-focused on vitamins, minerals. What about selenium? What about lycopene? Should I be taking vitamin D? But we don't eat nutrients. We eat foods. And the greater variety in our diet, the more we're able to get all of those nutrients into our eating pattern. It's about an eating pattern, not really like give me a list of 10 foods that are cancer fighting. It's about a lot of variety. Maintaining a healthy weight is always really important. We're increasing nutrient-dense foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, lean proteins. And we're limiting sodium, saturated fat, added sugars, alcohols. These guidelines have not changed in 45 years. So if you want to plant your flag somewhere on a nutritional hill, this is where we want to plant our flag. But you might say, well, Traci, this is great. This is for the average American. But what about somebody who has a diagnosis of cancer? Are there any differences when it comes to a cancer diagnosis? So we do have some recommendations. Again, this is the AICR. Love them, love their website. They're a great, great organization. They do have cancer prevention recommendations. These are for the prevention of cancer or for the prevention of recurrence. You can see they have a list of things. They might start to look pretty familiar to you. Be a healthy weight. Be physically active. Eat a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, beans. Limit consumption of fast foods or other foods high in fat, sugar, sodium. Limit consumption of red and processed meats, sugar-sweetened beverage, limit alcohol. Do not use supplements for cancer prevention. The other thing I wanted to point out is that no foods are prohibited. People come in and they ask, what are the foods that I should be eating, or are there things that I need to be avoiding? A lot of oncology dietitians, especially, we want to reduce food fear. There can be a lot of anxiety when it comes to eating the right thing or not eating the wrong thing. These dietary guidelines do not prohibit any food. Even with red meat, they say limit or avoid, but this does not mean never. We want to talk about healthy eating patterns, again, and increasing fruits and vegetables, increasing dietary fiber. So we also want to make sure that we eliminate that anxiety or fear around any specific foods. Healthy weight is at the top of the list. Physical activity, always going to be important, and supplements are not recommended. So don't take my word for it. Take the American Institute for Cancer Research. Again, we're thinking about eating patterns and a variety of foods and food groups. So when I say supplements, I mean things like that Vital Greens or that powder that we can put into a liquid and drink it. If somebody comes in and I'm looking at their labs and I see that they're a little bit low in vitamin D or they're a little bit deficient in a specific vitamin or mineral, then we go through your diet, we take a look at what you're eating, what could we add in? Do we need a supplement to bring that lab back up and then go on from there?
Do you characterize vitamins as supplements?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we're talking vitamins or minerals, like a 1 a day, I take a 1 a day and I take a calcium vitamin D for bones. So those types of supplements, like a vitamin or mineral for a specific purpose, that's okay because I don't have a lot of dairy. And so I need to make sure that I'm getting enough calcium for bone health. So I do take a calcium supplement. So when we use supplements, for this talk, when I use supplements, I'm going to talk about herbal extracts, powders of things, mushrooms, those types of herbal supplements are separate. Vitamins, minerals as a supplement can be good to help fill some of those gaps.
What does moderate mean?
Good question. What are we focusing on? Are we looking at red meat?
Yes, for example.
Okay, the American Cancer Society's recommendation on red meat, again, American Cancer Society's recommendation on red meat is no more than twice a week. So moderate means we're not having a hamburger one day and a steak the next day, and then we're having meatloaf. Twice a week, red meat consumption is the recommendation.
Is that like 4 ounces or 6?
8 ounces or less. 8 ounces is a lot of red meat for me. That's a pretty hefty steak.
Body weight, specific to the larger person.
Correct.
What about the protein drinks that so many people rely on instead of eating properly?
Correct, yes.
Is that a supplement?
That's a good question. So there is something called an oral nutrition supplement, and you'll even see them outside after I brought some in. So especially during treatment, when people enter into treatment and they're dealing with the side effects from radiation, chemotherapy, even immunotherapy, and your appetite goes in the toilet, and it's really difficult for you to maintain your intake, or you've lost a significant amount of weight because of treatment. So then your dietitian is going to say, what can we do that's going to be an easy way for us to get your calories, your protein, and those vitamins and minerals? And we do recommend those oral nutrition supplements to help fill those gaps until your eating patterns start to recover. So yes, we absolutely recommend Kate Farms, or we have a Nestle Complete out there to try as well, because getting those nutrients and the calories and the protein in is really important. We want to prevent malnutrition as much as possible. Good question.
Balance of nature failure.
As a multivitamin?
Well, they have these bottles that they send you every month. One has all the fruits and one has all the vegetables. And all the people in the ads are running around healthy as hell.
I would say that's a really great marketing team. I don't really think that there are fruits and vegetables in those bottles.
One that comes up a lot is dairy, and specifically like prostate cancer. I've seen like some research that like specifically whole milk is terrible, but I was also kind of about cheese, things like that. Just what's your take overall on dairy?
Good question, and especially for this audience as well. And I refresh my look at the cup this week specifically for prostate cancer because there is some concern about dairy or calcium. So the recommendation for dairy is that we want to have our dairy at like low fat or no fat. And that's not necessarily because of the dairy, it's because of our number one recommendation up here is that we want to be a healthy body weight and we want to reduce our saturated fat. The fat in dairy is higher saturated fat, so that's why we recommend low fat or no fat. Cheese, since cheese is naturally pretty fatty, I would say we're just, again, moderation, we're adding cheese on things. Again, if we're losing weight, we're underweight, we're struggling with intake, and you're like, man, I haven't had anything to eat all day, and someone just made macaroni and cheese, is that a good or a bad thing to eat? If I haven't eaten all day, is macaroni and cheese a good or a bad thing to eat? it's a good thing to eat. Eat that macaroni and cheese.
Specifically to the dairy, there's a recent information that my dad got from a friend, and it talked about leucine and casein being in Parmesan, aged Parmesan, and cottage cheese, and in goat cheese. So some cheeses do have a benefit for muscle strengthening.
Cheese is high in protein. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're more of a plant-based diet and you're limiting chicken, fish, turkey, meat, whatever, you're getting more of your protein from dairy, then great, add some cheese in.
No sweet, no meat.
So, in other words, sugar, caffeine, and alcohol should not be our 3 days of food groups.
That should not be the foundation, no. I'm afraid not.
Have you heard anything about specific to prostate cancer that's less sensitive to sugars than other cancers? Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, we'll talk about sugar. Don't worry.
Well, in relation to sugar, there are a lot of people in this country who are at the edge of pre-diabetes. And so those with sweet tooths want to limit the amount of sugar, but yet want to have something. And I'm still trying to find the perfect granola bar. And there was an article in the San Diego Union about the healthiest granola bars. So I ordered them, and they were a little healthy in category A, maybe not so healthy in category B. So I'm still looking for the perfect granola bar that will still give me a little sugar taste, but is better than a lot of the others. And it's the endless quest.
It is. And we're going to talk really quickly about label reading too.
Yes. Okay. Why don't we hold the rest of the questions? Better get a few more slides in.
I'll also be around, so I'll be around for plenty of time afterwards too.
Can you restate the questions? Because we can't hear some.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, just briefly.
Of course. Yeah. Okay, again, well, let's talk specifically about prostate cancer and look at the research to see what do we need to be doing? Like, how do we set ourselves up for success as best as we can? Remember, nutrition was right in the middle of that chart, but we want to make sure that we're doing the right things. This is a study that came out in 2023 that showed that adopting some behavioral changes after diagnosis could help enhance clinical outcomes. So that's a great take home. That's a good message for us to have. What were some of those behavioral changes that they found to be beneficial? I made this little graphics. I love the red light, yellow light, green light. So I know I said earlier that nothing was prohibited, but I will maybe put smoking in that red light category. It is better to be a non-smoker or a long-term quitter, and that's just not just for cancer, that's for all health outcomes as well. Avoiding those sugar-sweetened beverages helps with overall health, again, and we don't need those extra calories for no benefit. Again, the calories themselves are not bad, there's just no nutrition really that comes with them. In our yellow light, this is the same thing that we've been talking about, the dietary guidelines. Decrease saturated fats, decrease processed foods, limit whole milk, right? If we're gonna have some dairy, we're gonna have 2%, 1%, or a skim. Limit red and processed meat, limit alcohol, healthy BMI. And then the green light, which is where I love to focus. I don't like saying, don't do that, limit that, avoid that. I really like to push the green light and say, what can we do more of? What can we add to our plate? We want to increase our fruit and vegetable intake, our whole grains, and work on regular, consistent physical activity.
Could you just maybe explain what you mean by whole grain and give an example of whole grain?
Sure. So bread is a great primer on whole grains. When you go to the grocery store and you're looking to buy bread, you're looking at the package and it can say white bread, whole wheat, whole grain. It's going to tell you a lot of things on the package. You're going to say, okay, I don't know what does that mean. If you flip that bread over and you look at the nutrition facts panel or you look at the ingredients, you want it to say whole grain or whole wheat. If it's just white bread, that means all we're getting from that wheat is just the starch part of it. We're missing the germ and the bran, which is where most of the nutrition is. That's where the fiber is. That's where a lot of the vitamins and minerals are. So we want that could be whole grain corn. It could be whole grain wheat. That gives us the extra nutrition and especially the fiber that has been shown to be really healthy.
Tracy, before you leave that slide, would it be fair to also add in the red category, not just sugar-sweetened beverages, but foods that are processed foods that are sugar-laden? Just check the label.
Like ice cream?
I have feelings about ice cream, so we'll answer this question first. Yes, we want to reduce, minimize added sugars, for sure. But I don't want to demonize sugar too much. Go ahead, Impact.
Isn't fruit basically sugar? I mean, it's natural, but it's sugar.
Correct. Fruit has sugar. Carrots have sugar. Potatoes have sugar. Any type of a carbohydrate that you eat, any carbohydrate will break down into sugar. So we're going to talk about sugar in one of my upcoming slides where we're going to demystify that. And what does that mean when you talk about fruit or any other carbohydrates? Because those all break down into glucose the same way a Krispy Kreme donut is full of sugar. So we will talk about that. That's my favorite topic. Okay, I saw a lot of hands when we were talking about ADT. So some of the impacts of ADT were like, how can we use nutrition to our benefit? So some of the impacts are with lipid metabolism, right? So we can have altered labs when it comes to our low density lipoprotein or LDL and with our cholesterol. So if we're on ADT, these are some labs that maybe we need to pay attention to. Also, there are changes that happen with fat distribution because of this treatment that we're receiving. So there can be increased fat accumulation, predominantly abdominal fat. And so how do we use nutrition to help us out in both of these areas? So I'm going to kind of go through some recommendations. We're going to talk about bone health for sure. And this, I mean, really bone health for all of us. But especially with ADT, we want to pay a little bit more attention to bone health. We're going to talk about our cardiovascular health, especially people who are on ADT, body composition changes, and then energy levels and fatigue, which is maybe the #1 symptom that we hear most often. So we're talking about bone health, right? This kind of takes us a little bit back to dairy and back to calcium because we need to make sure that we're getting adequate calcium daily. We need daily added calcium. I do want to say this about labs. This is important when it comes to calcium. We can go get our labs done and we look at our calcium lab and we're like, looks great. My calcium looks normal, so I must be getting enough calcium. That's not necessarily true. Our body needs to maintain a certain balance of calcium in our bloodstream because calcium is so important for muscle contraction. Can you imagine if we're low on calcium and it's impacting our muscle contraction? And think about a very important muscle in our body, our heart. We want to make sure that keeps contracting. So when our body recognizes that our calcium is getting a little low, it will go to your bone and it will resorb calcium from your bone to keep the levels of circulation where they need to be, very tightly controlled. So that calcium lab is not necessarily an indicator of adequate intake. So we need to make sure that through our diet we're getting enough calcium. So the goals for men daily are 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams. This can come from a lot of different sources. It doesn't have to be just dairy, but we can have canned fish with soft bones, beans, leafy greens, tofu. And again, I take a Caltrate Bone Health like every other day just to kind of shore up a little bit some of my calcium intake. Weight-bearing exercises at least twice a week. This is incredibly important for bone health. So this doesn't mean that we have to go to the gym or we need to join a program. We could do this at home, even with some activities around the house. We need to have some weight-bearing exercises. This could include going up and down a flight of stairs if that's something that is appropriate. That's something that is going to help with our bone health over time. And if you do smoke, consider a smoking cessation program. Heart-healthy nutrition. We talked about cholesterol and we talked about LDL. So we want to think about what does a heart-healthy diet look like. I also moonlight in the cardiac rehab center at UC San Diego Health. So I teach heart-healthy nutrition all the time. I love this topic as well. We do want to emphasize plant-based foods. Does that mean that you have to be vegetarian? No. It means that we need to make sure that our plate is filled with fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Legumes is just a fancy word for saying beans, and nuts. So 5 servings a day is going to be our goal.
What's the size of a serving? Is it an ounce or?
Good question, and it's different depending on what you're eating. There are great cheat sheets online where you can say, what is a serving size for a fruit and vegetable? And it'll give you like a little picture. It's usually a half a cup of vegetables is a serving. So go online. If you need a little cheat sheet for your refrigerator, that can kind of help cue you in on what a serving size would be. Healthy fats. So our body needs fat. We need to make sure we're getting healthy fats in. Most healthy fats come from plants. So things like olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds. So when we think about healthy fats, we want to think about plant sources of fats. We want to limit saturated fats. Saturated fats are mostly, asterisk, mostly found in animal products, but also found in tropical oils like coconut oil and palm oil. So those are plant sources of saturated fats. And we want to avoid trans fats. There's no nutritional benefit to a trans fat at all. We're prioritizing lean protein. Again, fish, turkey, chicken, tofu, edamame, and we want to limit that processed meat. Limiting dietary cholesterol and sodium, oh gosh, especially sodium. If we are looking to make a change for heart health, we want to make sure we keep our sodium to about 2,300 milligrams a day. This is really difficult if we're eating out or doing takeout or buying pre-made or processed foods, because a way to make them taste super yummy is to add in extra sodium. So we need to be careful about our sodium intake. If you're looking for a number on dietary fiber, I would love to talk to you guys for an hour about fiber. Fiber is so important in our health and something that I think gets underplayed when it comes to nutrition. Men, you should be aiming for, I put 30 here, but it should be 35. If you can get in 35 grams of fiber a day, that would be wonderful. Women, 28 would be a good goal for dietary fiber every day. And again, this might be a case where if you're eating a lot of whole fruits and vegetables, you're like, I just had a banana. How do I know how much fiber is in a banana? To get a little sheet that you can say, a cup of spinach is this much fiber, just to give you a framework for, am I close? Am I getting close to my 30 grams a day or not? When you're buying food, you can look at the nutrition facts panel. It will tell you how much fiber is in each serving. We've talked about.
Yeah, so there's some breads that say double fiber, and it really has a lot of fiber, and it's an oral wheat product.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a cereal called Fiber One, which has like 50% fiber. But what I'm hearing you say is, yeah, you could do that, but try to get it from the whole grains, fruits, and vegetables rather than those store-bought products. Is that what you're implying?
I don't mind that it comes from bread or from cereal. I have an English muffin that's a staple in my house. It's Thomas's whole grain English muffin. One English muffin is like 5 grams of fiber. That's fantastic. I'll take it. I will take it. Because realistically, we might not hit our goal with just fruits and vegetables every day. So if you have a cereal or you have a bread, something that is a whole grain or extra fiber that's going to help get you there, by all means, use that as well. Oh gosh, did I skip some? Limit alcohol. So the recommendations for alcohol is to limit it or avoid it if you can. I would say, gosh, again, this is the American Cancer Society recommendation. If you consume alcohol, a drink or less a day for men, the ACS sometimes will say 2. I think the more we're learning, the less the better. That's not to say if it's your anniversary, can you have a glass of wine with your dinner? Absolutely. Go ahead.
Could you comment on the biochemistry of alcohol vis-a-vis cancer? That is, what goes on, why is it prohibited, and what goes on if you do drink alcohol and you do have cancer?
So again, the recommendation is not to eliminate it completely. As far as the biochemistry, that I actually don't know the specifics of. So how alcohol impacts that cycle and what that pathway is like, I'm not entirely sure. I'm using the kind of consensus guidelines on that one to keep my recommendations in line with the American Cancer Society. And sorry, before I go on, I just want to mention hydration. When we talk about nutrition, we're always looking at foods groups, nutrients, eating patterns, but we forget about hydration. Water is a nutrient. We have 6 nutrients and water is one of them. Hydration needs to be a daily goal, and that can be, the slide used to say drink plenty of water, and I changed that word water to fluids, because I know not everyone loves water, not everyone is a water drinker. That's okay. We just need fluids. So that can be water, milk, decaf tea, any type of beverage, broths in your soup. We just need to make sure we're getting plenty of fluids in each day. Body composition changes. Again, especially for ADT, I know this can be quite an issue. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining muscle mass and we're minimizing fat gain. So adequate protein is really important. Those protein sources, again, can come from a number of places. Our goal is to get lean protein. Fish, poultry, eggs, dairy, beans, tofu are some really good lean protein sources. Portion control is really key when it comes to making sure that we're maintaining a healthy weight. You could eat a perfectly healthy diet, all of the correct nutrients, all of the most beautiful recommendations from your dietitian, but if you eat too many calories, you will gain weight. So a healthy diet doesn't protect you from weight gain. Portion control and making sure you're understanding your hunger and satiety cues, that's going to help keep your weight nice and stable, and being regularly active. Again, resistance training is really key, not just for your bone health, but for your muscles as well. And consistency is really key. Even if you're only incorporating small changes, to do those daily is going to add up over time. Energy levels and fatigue. Again, I know that this is a big concern, especially during treatment. A lot of people really struggle with energy levels. So this is just, again, a reiteration of the things that we've talked about. We want to make sure we're fueling our body with good foods, with good nutrition. Staying hydrated probably should be number one. Being physically active, it might be counterintuitive to think, man, I'm so tired. Well, if I go to take a walk or do something active, I'm just going to be more tired. But the research has shown that regular physical activity actually does improve energy levels throughout the day. Managing stress is really key, and asking for help when you need. All right, that was a lot, guys. Whew. So I do want to dive into a little bit of the upside down part of knowledge. I love this endless staircase, which is, it's where things were almost right, but they're not quite right. So, oh goodness, it's already 11? We're going to have to chop, guys. Let's go through some of these nutrition myths, because I know a lot of people have questions about these specific things.
You're doing fine on time.
Okay, we're all okay?
Yeah. What you want.
You want to hear what you guys.
Okay, I came with a lot.
And I ran over too.
So sugar, of course, is probably the number one question that we get when it comes to cancer. People are really, really worried about sugar and cancer. So this, and please, check me on this. Go to the American Cancer Society, go to the AICR, go to those other websites and ask about this information. Cancer cells consume more glucose than normal cells because cancer cells are very metabolically active. Cells that are metabolically active are using sugar for fuel at a higher rate. That does not mean that if you eat sugar, it will speed up your cancer growth. Our body controls blood sugar really tightly. There are some instances where we have diabetes or prediabetes where we have a little bit of trouble managing our blood sugar. But there's no notion or no evidence that says if we consume sugar, our cancer will grow faster. And there's no evidence that says if we eliminate sugar, it will kill our cancer. We cannot starve our cancer by eliminating sugar from our diet. What that would mean is that we have to eliminate not just sugar, but all carbohydrates. That would mean no carrots, no potatoes, no complex carbohydrates, none of that, because all carbohydrates break down into glucose. And all cells of our body utilize glucose for fuel. Our brain, our muscles, even our tumor, all cells utilize glucose for fuel. If we decide, I'm gonna do the keto diet and I'm just gonna eliminate as many carbohydrates as I can out of my diet, your body has a way, it's a process called gluconeogenesis, and we can take some little pieces of protein, we can take a little backbone of a fat, and our body can rearrange that into a glucose molecule. So we cannot starve cancer by eliminating sugar. That being said, what is the reason that we want to reduce added sugars? Why would we want to reduce added sugars then? Healthy body weight. We want to make sure that we keep our bodies at a healthy weight. And extra added sugar can increase weight gain, and extra added sugar can increase inflammation. So we want to make sure that we're eating healthy, complex carbohydrates. Fruits have fiber. Fruits have sugar. They do, but they also have fiber and vitamins and minerals and nutrients. So we need to be eating those foods because they fuel our body with a lot of important nutrients. So if I were to say, which do you want? Which is better for you? Some strawberries or that Krispy Kreme donut? Obviously, the strawberries are going to be better for you because they have fiber, vitamins, minerals. Is the glucose that you get from a strawberry any different than the glucose that you get from that Krispy Kreme donut? No, it's the same. It's absolutely the same. But of course, we want you to eat the strawberries because there's more nutrition and health. It's not because that glucose in that Krispy Kreme donut is bad and evil. You're getting glucose from the strawberries, but we want you to get the nutrition, the fiber, the nutrients from the strawberries as well, and limit the calories only from the Krispy Kreme donut.
Just specific to the glucose, advanced cancer versus early stage cancer. There is a lot of discussion out there. Where do you stand on that?
As far as limiting sugars or glucose?
Is there a difference in the way it affects the cancer cells?
Not at all. Nope. Great question. So let's talk about prediabetes and diabetes, because this means that your body isn't regulating the blood glucose as well. Whether that's glucose insensitivity in your cells or insulin insensitivity, or you're having trouble making enough insulin. So now we need to look at our carbohydrates and kind of change how we're eating them. Whether you have prediabetes or diabetes, again, I do not want to limit your carbohydrates, but there are types of carbohydrates that are better to eat. Complex carbohydrates are going to be better to eat if you have blood sugar issues, because complex carbohydrates have fiber. So eating carbohydrates that are higher in fiber means they digest more slowly, and so the resulting blood glucose levels will go up more slowly. Additionally, when you have a carbohydrate in a snack or in a meal, I would like you to pair that carbohydrate with a protein or a fat source. If you eat, let's say, the highest glycemic index food would be white bread. Let's have a slice of Wonder Bread. You have a slice of Wonder Bread by itself. Your blood sugar will spike up really quickly and come down really quickly. If you have a piece of whole grain, whole wheat bread, and you have some peanut butter on that. So I've added some protein and I've added a healthy fat. Even if you're getting the same grams of carbohydrates, but I've added fiber, fat, and protein. Now your blood sugar will go up a little more slowly. It will not peak as high, and it will come down a lot more slowly. So it's not necessarily total carbohydrates, it's the type of carbohydrate and what you're eating them with.
About 2 years ago, I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic with the A1C. And then I learned that if you do a 30-minute, not even brisk, but a kind of a walk right after a meal, it significantly lowers your blood glucose level. It retunes your glucose and insulin system. And I actually have a blood test, glucose test at home. And one time I had a Panda Express meal, and it was 165 and 155 on the two different hands. I went for a walk, and it dropped down to 85 and 95. So that walking after a meal is really better.
Correct. If you do some exercise after a meal, that signals to your body, my muscles are doing work. I need to drive glucose into my muscles for fuel, and so that's going to bring your blood sugar levels down. Great point.
This doesn't have to do with blood sugar, but I want to ask you about mineral supplements, because you mentioned you take caltrate, calcium citrate. There's so many compounds and salts of minerals. Are you endorsing one or the other? Or magnesium, glycinate, oxide, carbonate? What do you do?
So when it comes to vitamin and mineral supplements, I like to keep it simple. So if I'm doing something for me, it was bone health, I needed a little bit extra calcium, vitamin D, I'm going to just take a caltrate. When people ask me about vitamins, like, is there a brand that you prefer, a type that you recommend? I usually say Kirkland multivitamin, one a day. So as far as like a specific type of vitamin or mineral, I usually don't have specific recommendations. If you can get those from your diet with variety, that's great. And then whatever you're supplementing from a one a day or a Kirkland is going to probably give you enough that you need to fill in some of those gaps.
I'm talking about specific minerals, like calcium in particular. You said calcium citrate, I guess. So many different salts and compounds. I mean, you got to take one or the other. I'm talking just about mineral supplements.
As far as like the bio, some of them are like, are they more bioavailable, better, easier for your body to digest? Yeah, so the companies who have developed those vitamins, like calcium citrate, is going to be the best bioavailable for you. Some people need iron, so there's ferrous sulfate and ferric sulfate, and which one should you use? Ferrous is usually more bioavailable, more easily digested. So if people have specific questions about that, definitely come find me afterwards.
There's a question. Are you going to talk about coffee?
I can out there. It's not on a slide, but I will talk about caffeine. I want to bust through my myths really quickly. So superfoods, again, I think that I've mentioned this enough during our talk, as really our dietary goals are about variety, balance, moderation. I do not like the term cancer-fighting food. Anytime I see a book, cancer-fighting foods, the cancer-fighting kitchen, it just makes me feel really uncomfortable because that makes it seem like this food is going to end your cancer. And I would rather talk about nutrition as a means of fueling your body. Again, there's not a type of food or a supplement or a extract that is going to go target your cancer cells specifically. It's more about a whole body approach to reducing inflammation, keeping your body at a healthy weight, making sure you're getting enough nourishment. So again, we want to talk about eating patterns, variety, and getting vitamins and minerals from food rather than focusing on a certain, 12 foods that are going to help fight cancer. So variety, variety, variety. And again, going back to people's appetite during treatment, there are going to be days where you don't want to have a grilled chicken breast and a salad and wild rice. That is not going to cut it for that day. There are going to be days where you're going to eat a bowl of macaroni and cheese. And I don't want anyone to feel like they're doing harm to their body if that's what happens. Supplements we've talked about, but I will be happy to talk about them again afterwards. Again, our goal is to get most of our nutrition through our food. Oh gosh, this is one of my favorites too, because I usually get this question at some point during the Q&A. So I added in this nutrition myth about organic foods. Deep breath. So again, I'm a biochemist. This is my background. And we're looking at organically grown foods versus conventionally grown foods. The question is there a difference in nutritional content between these foods? So studies have shown that organic and conventional foods generally have the same nutrient value. So if I take organic blueberries and conventional blueberries, and I'm looking at vitamins, minerals, even polyphenols, antioxidants, they're generally going to be the same between the two. Pesticides, I think, is what we're most concerned about, right? So pesticides residues, when you purchase your foods, are generally within the limits of recognized safety. This is my cold coming to get me. You still want to bring your food home. You want to inspect it. You want to make sure that it's not rotten, tarnished. You don't see anything growing on it. We want to clean it when we get home, regardless of whether you're buying organic or conventional. Organic, this is where I want to full stop. Organic does not mean pesticide-free. To get the designation of USDA organic, the farmers do need to follow certain guidelines. But organic farming does use pesticides and herbicides. They literally have to, or they would have no crop. So there are an approved list of pesticides and agents that can be used on organic foods. I mean, this is from the USDA. I didn't make this list. These are all of the things that are approved to use on organic crops. It is necessary to dissuade bugs and weeds from decimating your crop. So sometimes the cost-benefit analysis, if you're looking to buy organic versus conventional, organic is always going to be more expensive. I don't want us to think that more expensive means better or more expensive means healthier. It costs the farmer a lot to be USDA certified organic. There are paperwork, applications, they need to, talk about what agents they use on their crops. So it costs the farmer to become USDA certified organic. Some of that cost needs to be passed along. So I want to make sure when we're thinking about all of the fruits, vegetables, things that we're going to be adding into our plates, do we need to be buying all organic food? We do not. If you want to, great. If it makes you feel better, safer, healthier, I just don't want anyone to feel that they're not doing a good job if they're just buying conventionally grown foods. So again, I can answer questions about organic versus conventional, but I just wanted to put this up there as well so that nutritionally, I'm much happy if you're eating more fruits and vegetables. Skills, are we still doing okay, guys? Yeah. We're still doing all right? Good. Okay. So that was our knowledge. Oh gosh, you guys are all like certified dietitians now. That knowledge is great, but that might not necessarily always get us to where we need to be in our actual eating habits and in our eating patterns. So let's talk about a few skills that will help take that knowledge and put that knowledge into action. So what are we up against? We have this nutrition knowledge. We're like, I understand the dietary guidelines for Americans. I know what the AICR has said about nutrition. However, the messaging out there does not support those guidelines. Otherwise, we would not have an obesity epidemic. The messaging that we get around food is that food needs to be convenient. I don't want to do a lot of work to get my food. I need it to just appear in front of me. Food should be fast. I don't want to take 30 minutes to cook a dinner. Are you kidding? We get shown what tastes good. And sometimes nutrition is the secondary message, or maybe nutrition is not even in the message at all. Other times, some nutritional benefits are overpromised. So this is what we're up against when we're trying to navigate our eating. I really have to hand it to Domino's. The emergency pizza campaign was brilliant. Brilliant. If you guys, who has seen the emergency pizza commercials? So you order a pizza from Domino's and they say, listen, in the future, we're going to give you an emergency pizza for free because there will be a day where you're running late, you don't have an idea for dinner, traffic was terrible, we will hand you a free pizza. That's just brilliant. This takes care of all of your problems for the day. Is a Domino's cheese pizza the best thing that we can eat? Is that part of the dietary guidelines? I don't know that that necessarily fits in, but they're playing on our other needs. I love McDonald's and Burger King always have the greatest campaigns because it's never about nutrition. Of course, they're not even going to try. They're going to tell you that you deserve a break today, or they're going to tell you, you know, at BK, have it your way, your rule. So this is all about your choice to eat what you want when you want. Let's not worry about if it's nutritious or not. You're in charge. You decide what you want to eat. I do love, this is one of my favorite packages. This says Cheetos, simply natural. What do we think is simple or natural about a Cheeto? Really nothing. There's nothing simple or natural about a Cheeto. This is the marketing that we're getting. This is what we're navigating through. Again, I was in college in the 90s when the low-fat, no-fat craze hit Snackwells. Who remembers Snackwells from the 90s? So at the time, I was going to university. I lived with my brother, and he would always tell me, fat-free doesn't mean calorie-free, Tracy. So I was, okay. So this 97% fat-free, what is that really getting us? Tasteless, lots of sugar. You know, does not mean healthy. Odwalla, man, we have a picture on front. Look, it has all this yummy, healthy food in it, and it's green, so it must be good. This says that it's a superfood, and it says non-GMO, no sugar added. What could possibly be wrong with this Odwalla green juice? So when you talk about juicing, and this even says no added sugar, so it must be great. But if you look at the back and you look at that nutrition facts panel, it has tons of sugars, and yes, fruit sugars and natural sugar, but what they've done by juicing is they've taken all of that fiber and thrown it in the trash can. And all you're getting is the juice. The number one ingredient in this is apple juice. So you're getting lots of fruit sugars and you're missing out on a lot of the nutrients. We want that fiber. Don't throw that in the garbage can.
Fruit sugar is heavy in fructose?
Heavier. So if you look at glucose and it's like a 50-50, fructose or fruit sugars are going to be just a little bit slightly higher fructose. So
Fructose is getting a bad rap.
fructose is getting a bad rap. I don't know. I don't hate fructose, but again, if we're eating natural foods, including fruits, there's nothing wrong with getting the fructose from fruit. Yeah, high fructose corn syrup means that it's 55% fructose and 45% glucose. So it's not high in like a 90% fructose. It's just chemically is a little bit slightly higher. Tastes a lot sweeter. Fructose has a sweeter taste than glucose by itself. So that's why high fructose corn syrup is used, because it tastes sweeter. Also, we overgrow corn in the United States, so what else are we going to use it for?
From what I understood, it has something to do with metabolism by the liver.
So again, it's good to not have too much of anything. So I would rather people not have products with high fructose corn syrup because you're not getting anything for that extra sweetener from a nutrition standpoint.
So I want to ask this because you're on the skills slide. One thing you haven't mentioned, and I think it's correlated to the fact that unlike pancreatic cancer, which is, I think, relatively rapid, prostate cancer might be a more slower growing. One thing you haven't talked about is fasting and restricting dieting. Could you comment on that at all? Do you think fasting is beneficial to people with prostate cancer?
I haven't seen any evidence that shows that fasting or time-restricted eating has any type of impact on the progression of prostate cancer. Some people, when they do time-restricted eating and they give themselves an eating window, that does help them keep their total calories in check. And so they say, I'm going to eat between 11 and 6. That's going to be my eating window. That's kind of a gatekeeping for calories. So if that does help keep your calories within a healthy window, great. But I do know there are some people who have done intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating, and they still eat too many calories in their window, and so it can still be unhealthy.
But might not signal the cell cycle to, if food is limited, wouldn't it, like in the cell cycle, wouldn't it be an indicator, a signal to say, stop growing, this is not the time to grow, and might not that slow cancer down?
I haven't seen that has been the evidence as far as research goes, because again, even when you're not eating food, you do have glucose stores in your muscles and in your liver. So you do have energy stored in your body. So I haven't seen that evidence just yet. Go ahead.
I think one of the issues against fasting for people, especially on ADT, is the muscle and protein intake. And there's been some loss of protein or muscle, which we're most concerned about. And that's the argument against fasting.
Yeah, if you have protein goals for the day, maybe your protein goals are 80 or 90 grams, it's best to space that protein out over the day. You shouldn't get 50 grams of protein in one sitting because your body can only digest and utilize protein.
But if someone's going to fast for, let's say, 24 hours, the problem is if you're on ADT, we're trying so hard to maintain the muscle or decrease the rate of the loss of muscle that you're contradicting. It's too hard to do that when you're on a fasting diet.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't mean across the board, right? Because if you're on ADT and you're having issues with calcium and other forms of metabolism, then I don't think fasting would be a good idea.
Right. That's the thing they never bring up though with fasting.
How many slides?
Like 10. Okay, we're gonna zip right along. So
Hold the questions until the end.
we'll go through these a little bit faster because again, I really want to make sure that we have tools to put some of this knowledge into action. Goal setting, I'm sure you guys have all heard and read about goal setting before, but these skills are those things that bridge the gap between our knowing and doing. So just very, very quickly, if we want to leave today and we want to set some goals for how we're going to change our diet, let's think about our goals as approach goals. So we're going to think about the things that we are going to do. We're going to move towards our desired outcome. I'm going to eat 3 servings of vegetables a day, rather than avoidance goals where we say, my goal is to move away from something that I don't want to be doing. I will avoid donuts at work. I'm going to stop snacking late at night. If we frame our goals as approach goals, then we're going to be a lot more successful. It helps with positive thoughts, better self-assessment than avoidance goals. So that's one tip when it comes to starting to form our goals. We want to think of them as what we're going to do to move towards a desired outcome. We also have performance versus mastery goals. So a performance goal gets a pass-fail or a grade. I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 4 weeks. So when 4 weeks comes, we either did that or we didn't, and that can feel really defeating. If we think about goals as far as mastery, where we're learning a skill to help support our goals. I'm going to take a cooking class to learn new ways of making meals, or I'm going to join a rec league so that I can be more active. Those mastery goals help us with the day-to-day rather than leading to like a pass-fail type of grade at the end. Action plans are important because they tell us how we're going to achieve our goal. Not just that we have a goal, we need an action plan to say, here's how I will accomplish that goal. It tells us the how, the where, and the when of how we're going to reach our goal. So we need to make sure that we really put that desire into some concrete steps so we know how to follow that. I'll learn how to create healthy meals and take a lunch to work rather than eating out. So we need to have some specific steps so that this is not just like a nebulous idea that we have. We want to put specifics to our goals. That being said, action plans, they don't always work out. We have the best of intentions, but there's going to be traffic or it's going to be raining. So there's going to be something that might mess up our action plans. It is always good to develop some coping plans to help deal with those. Listen, my action plan was that every night after dinner, I'm going to take a 20-minute walk because I know that helps with my blood sugar, but it's raining outside. So my coping plan is that I'm going to do an exercise video in the living room, or I'm gonna walk up and down my stairs. Having a coping plan means all is not lost. We can still get something out of the day. We can still do something that moves the needle to helping us to reach our goals. Very, very quickly, meal planning. Probably when I talk to people, this is their least favorite thing to talk about. Meal planning is important because that does reinforce our food knowledge. We know what we need to be eating, so meal planning helps us reinforce that knowledge, turn that into goals. Meal planning can save time because it means less last-minute decisions during the week, because that's when we get our Domino's emergency pizza. Meal planning also can help us save money because when we buy food, that food has a purpose. We don't just randomly bring food home and hope it turns itself into a meal. And again, it does help to reinforce your goals. We don't have to do this every day. Maybe we just start by planning 2 or 3 dinners each week. People often, especially if they're not used to cooking or planning meals at home, they don't even know, like, what are my ideas? I don't even know how to put a meal together. This is where I do encourage you to kind of go out, grab a magazine, go online. ChatGPT can generate a meal plan for you. So you can go to the internet and get ideas that can at least provide you with the framework. Will you use all those ideas? No. You can change this ingredient for that. You can simplify if you want. But it does help give you a little bit of a hand up. Very quickly, label reading. I just wanted to, we've kind of talked about this a little bit earlier with our nutrients, and I want to make sure that we just have a little quick primer on label reading. And we know from our previous slides that we want to focus on, plant-based diet. We want to limit saturated fat. We want to limit sodium. But again, if we go to the grocery store and we're just looking at the front of that package, we may not be getting the full picture. So if we're trying to choose, we want a burger, and we're trying to choose between this plant-based burger and a regular, like 90% lean ground beef. We want to watch our saturated fat, and we want to make sure we're limiting our sodium. So if we look at the 2 boxes here, pretty clear winner. These are the same calories per patty, about the same total fat, but one is more than twice as high in saturated fat, and one is like more than 10 times of the sodium. So we need to understand these numbers to really help us make the right choice. But who knows what trick I'm playing right now? Yeah, so it's actually this way. So if you take this box and you flip it over, this is actually the nutrition content of this patty. So are you better off having this plant-based burger, or are you better off having this 90% lean ground beef? Yes, we want to limit our red meat to twice a week, but if you're like, man, I'm feeling like a burger, maybe this is not the better choice for you. So it's important when we go to the grocery store that we take a look at that label. This is where you really get the true information on your food, not the front of the package. The front of the package will promise you the world. We want to take a look at the nutrition facts panel so that we can understand what are we actually eating. We want to look at the serving size so we understand where our calories are coming from and what is a proper portion of that. We want to look at the fat, not just total fat, but again, saturated fat, trans fat. We want to make sure if we're comparing products, we want lower saturated fat, lower trans fat, cholesterol as well. So we need to take a look at these different line items in our food to make sure that we're trying to minimize our sodium. We're looking at dietary fiber. Again, it's not just about total carbohydrates. If you're looking at 2 products and they have the same total carbohydrates, but one of them is higher in dietary fiber, that might be our winner. All products are now required to list added sugars. So again, you're looking at something like a yogurt. Yogurt naturally has sugar. So you're never going to buy a yogurt that doesn't have any sugar in it. There's some naturally occurring sugar in yogurt. But if you buy a yogurt with like Cherry's Jubilee, then it's going to have a lot of added sugar in it as well. So you want to make sure that you're looking at this total carbohydrate line to look at dietary fiber and added sugar. Again, we're going to check protein because we have some goals for our protein intake to help support our muscles, make sure we're getting in enough protein. And then if we do have some vitamin or mineral needs, then we can take a look at those as well. Whew, guys, we did it. Okay, to just kind of level set and review, there are many, many factors that go into determining risk. Nutrition is an important component, of course. It is not the be-all, end-all, but it is something that's incredibly important and helps to support our overall health in a number of ways, not just with the cancer diagnosis. Again, we also have prediabetes or diabetes to worry about, hypertension. There are a lot of things that we need nutrition to help us with. Balance, variety, and moderation is something I say about 16 times a day. Creating some goals and some action plans are going to help move you from what you know into what you're able to do and helping you to reach those goals. We do have a couple classes at UCSD that are open to anyone. This does not require a referral from a physician. These are just classes that we offer through MyChart, if you happen to have a MyChart with UCSD. You can take a picture of this. We have our telephone number here. Again, for anybody who's interested in those nutrition classes, they are $30 each. They're taught by me. So I'd love to see you guys at some of those classes. These are my two favorite books of my whole entire life. If you want to know my nutrition philosophy, you can just basically read those books. Also, the Netflix documentary Live to 100, I think is wonderful because it does talk about nutrition, but again, that is not the only factor in our health. Community, movement, meditation, stress management, all of these things factor into your health. So that is worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Please don't hesitate to reach out, send me an email if you guys have any questions. And like I said, I will be around to answer more.
So Tracy,
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tracy. That was a fantastic presentation. Please go ahead and feel free to get up, use the restrooms that are out the back down the hall if you'd like to. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a few more questions. If you need to step outside, start lunch, go for it. I'm going to give the first question, though, which is you didn't mention anything about prebiotics, probiotics, microbiome, or digestive enzymes. Do you have any comments about those in particular?
How dare I not talk about prebiotics and probiotics? So we're actually, this physical self is more bacterial cells than human cells. So our microbiome is a significant component of our entity. Here's the thing about probiotics. Probiotics are those beneficial bacteria that we can get. We can take a capsule, we can eat yogurt, we can do whatever we want to help seed our digestive system to help us with our health outcomes. Again, those probiotics, let's say that we're taking a 5-strain probiotic. These are beneficial bacteria that they go into our gut. They're supposed to colonize there and provide us with a health benefit. However, those bacteria need to be fed. They don't just live on nothing. We provide them food, and the food that we provide them is mainly fiber, dietary fiber. So we eat food, and what we don't digest, we can't digest fiber. That fiber makes it into our colon and feeds our bacteria. So if we're taking a probiotic, but we're not eating enough fiber, those bacteria will not stay. They will just die and pass on through. So when it comes to probiotics, my guideline is if somebody is undergoing a surgery or they have an illness where they've been given a broad spectrum antibiotic, so we know that antibiotic is just wiping out everything, good and bad. So we're starting maybe not with a clean slate, but we don't have that environment in our gut that we used to. I would recommend maybe a multi-strain probiotic for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. That's it. We're literally seeding our colon with those bacteria, but we have to be feeding them as well. If we are feeding them with the fibers that we eat, we don't have to take anymore. They're going to be fed, they're going to replicate, they're going to colonize, and they're going to start to take over. A probiotic is not something that you should take long term. You shouldn't have to because your diet should be supporting that healthy microbiome environment.
Does Metamucil help? My dad takes that.
Yeah, Metamucil, I don't know how fermentable Metamucil is.
Keeps a good flow.
Yeah. Regularity is really important. But yes, prebiotics can help feed some of those bacteria as well.
I heard UCSD used to offer a nutritional class, cooking class. Is that going to be possible in the future?
That is a really great question. So we do have the Healing Foods Kitchen at UCSD, and pre-COVID, they had a cooking class. It has been a struggle to restart that after COVID has been wrapped up. So now we kind of leave that up to each team. So if you have a UCSD physician, you can just say, hey, I think you should consider a cooking class.
I just attended one with Dr. Rana McKay.
I was in the kitchen.
I know. She did the cooking class for both in person and Zoom.
Yeah, it was great.
Processed food is processed as ultra processed. If you consider sliced ham in a package with a preservative, is that processed or ultra processed? Or sliced beef in a package? Can you comment on that? I'm confused at what processed means.
Yeah, there is a lot of talk now about processed and ultra processed food. And I'll tell you, anything, pretty much anything that you buy in the grocery store has some degree of processing. If you think about a cow, you have to butcher the cow to get this. That is a process to get you that beef. So most things that we buy are processed. If you cook something, that is a process. Ultra processed is when we're adding in ingredients to that ham. So because it's cured and it's a lunch meat, now we're adding things in that were not originally in the pig. So ultra processed means we have something that we've added a lot of ingredients to for preservatives, for flavor. Usually those are the two, preservatives and flavors. So something like a deli meat, because of all of the added ingredients into that deli meat, would be considered ultra processed, which is why deli meats are something that we recommend maybe minimizing a little bit, which is tough because we all like a turkey sandwich every now and again. But we just want to try to be mindful of those as part of our dietary pattern.
Keep going with the questions. I'll be right back.
Sure. Sorry, say it again.
What is your opinion about ice cream?
Oh, yeah, the ice cream question. Okay, I have been known as a dietitian seeing patients in treatment who are really struggling with weight loss. They're really having a hard time with their appetite, and they've lost a lot of weight. Again, my number one goal is to prevent malnutrition. So if somebody says, what I really like to have in the evening is a little bowl of chocolate ice cream. So within that chocolate ice cream, what are you getting? You're getting some dairy, you're getting calcium, you're getting some protein, you're getting some fat, and you're getting some sugar. I'm 100% okay with ice cream if you're really struggling to hit your calorie goals. I don't think it's something that you should be eating every day or as a significant percentage of your dietary intake. But if you're having some ice cream to help out with some calories, with some protein, I'm okay with that. My kids eat ice cream, I eat ice cream. Again, it's about portion and moderation and what the ice cream is helping you do.
You mentioned eggs just briefly earlier, that they talked at UCSD in January at the meeting downtown about choline.
Mm-hmm.
So there's controversies over whether the choline is good or bad for prostate cancer.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of discussion about choline. I think the current recommendation was like 1 egg yolk a week, and then the rest you can have egg whites because there is some concern about the choline. Even amongst the dietitians, we have this, amongst the oncology dietitians, we have this, what do you guys think about the choline thing? Because eggs are such an important protein component. A lot of people are eating eggs. So in reading through the studies, when you're looking at what does the research say about choline, and when you take a study when it's looking at cancer cells in a dish, again, this was me over here doing cell culture work. You look at cancer cells in a dish and you look at choline, what does that do to those cells? How that translates into a human who's eating a balanced diet. I understand that the research says we have a concern about choline, but when it comes to taking that molecule really into the larger scope of a diet, I really have less concern about it in an overall healthy eating pattern than laser focusing in on the choline itself as a molecule. Go ahead.
Protein powders?
As a means of increasing protein intake, sure. If you're making a smoothie at home, you have your pitcher, you're throwing in your bananas, strawberries, protein powder, add some milk or some water to get your protein up. Fantastic. Do I have a favorite? Nope. Whichever one you think tastes the best and least chalky is probably the right answer.
On the scale of breads from Wonder Bread to whole grain, where does sourdough fit into that?
Good question. So sourdough uses a starter, so it has like a little probiotic component because it's used as a starter. Sourdough is great. I wouldn't only eat sourdough, but there are some sandwiches that I think taste better, like a grilled cheese sandwich. So, sorry?
A BLT?
A BLT. Well, I don't know about the bacon, but sourdough is okay.
Tracy, as someone who's been told to watch his sugar, make it a little funner. I pop one of these things on and I have the app on my phone and I can eat something. Everybody's a little different. I can eat something and in real time, like 15 minutes, I can see that what affects me. I can make, if I eat Panda Express with white rice, I can peg that thing out. It just makes it a little more realistic and fun that I can see what's affecting me.
Continuous glucose monitors are like the best thing ever invented. Yeah.
What's your thoughts or latest evidence on green tea or matcha in terms of its blocking androgen production? Is it a value add-on?
Yeah, so if you look at the research on EGCG and green tea, some of the studies, this is my problem with the green tea studies, is it usually where you would see a result or a benefit is with like 5 or 6 cups of green tea a day. So, that's a lot to ask a person to drink that much green tea a day. So people say, well, I don't need to do that. I'll just get the supplement. Like I can just take the little capsule of it. And again, as far as taking a supplement to help prevent something, there's so much that's happening in the green tea where you're getting other molecules, nutrients, things as well. I would recommend, yes, add green tea as a part of your regular diet, but that EGCG component as a means of blocking androgen production. This is the same conversation I have with soy and breast cancer, is I would include it as part of your eating pattern, but I wouldn't take any extra supplement because I don't know what the right dose or frequency is to truly show benefit on that.
You said you were going to comment on coffee.
Oh. Do we have concerns about coffee? What's the downside of coffee? Are we worried about coffee? I know. A lot of people will come to my visit and they'll say, oh, don't worry, I stopped drinking caffeine. Or they will say, can I drink caffeine? I'm like, who's telling people not to have coffee? I think coffee is okay. Coffee is actually really high in polyphenols, and so there is some benefit to drinking coffee. So I've never heard that there is a recommendation to avoid coffee.
How much coffee is safe, though? You hear 1 cup, 5 cups, 3 cups.
Safe is, so the only thing about caffeine is it does affect our heart rate, right? It is a stimulant, and it can be a diuretic. So if you're drinking a lot of coffee and you're not also hydrating with other fluids, then that can be negative. I come from all-day coffee drinkers. We drink coffee at night. We drink coffee all day long. We need to make sure that you're still hydrating. And if you have any cardiac concerns, you just need to make sure that that's not sending your heart rate too high.
What's your stuff on tomato products, lycopene,
Yeah. So interesting, one of my colleagues gave a talk and he had lycopene in one of his slides. And so the take home for lycopene was, please include that as part of your diet where you're having tomatoes, you're having tomato sauce, but taking lycopene as a supplement is not necessarily recommended, but incorporating tomatoes into your diet is a good idea.
I read that watercress is the best green vegetable versus kale, spinach, chard, etc. Any comments?
Rubbish. They're all good. Why do we got to prick a winner?
Sulforaphane, a derivative of broccoli, as it relates to cancer prevention. Is there any truth to that?
I'm sure it's lovely, and I'm sure there are many components of many vegetables that are lovely. And I used to have a slide that was about nutrition and cancer, and it was a picture of a broccoli punching a cancer cell. So yes, broccoli is wonderful, but so are leeks, asparagus, spinach. Great. Yes, let's all add broccoli.
All the alcohol guidelines nowadays seem to put alcohol in one category, and maybe the myth of red wine is good for heart health, is that gone now, or is red wine better than a beer or something else?
I'm still a fan of resveratrol, which is a component in red wine that's supposed to be beneficial for us. So if I were talking about health benefits of alcohol, maybe a red wine would be better than a beer. But again, my goal is that you're having alcohol so infrequently that is the resveratrol in one glass of wine going to matter in the long run, or is a beer going to be detrimental? Not really. So I would pick what you liked.
If you're trying to control triglycerides, I kind of have that issue, and when I increase my consumption of bread, even, wheat bread or whatever that has a lot of fiber, that seems to shoot up my triglycerides. Same thing with fruits and stuff like that. So then what, or maybe it's just me, that's just my own personal issue, I don't know.
Yeah, when you said triglycerides, my first thought was, let's make sure you're getting enough fiber, but it sounds like that's not the issue. How about physical activity? Okay.
Sugar, I cut out cookies, and if I eat bread, like on a regular basis, so that my triglycerides is.
Then I guess my conversation with you, if we were to sit down, would be like, how do those food groups balance out with protein in your diet and with some healthy fats as well, to make sure that you're not too overall carbohydrate heavy, even if you're getting a lot of fiber? Are you working in enough protein in your diet too, and enough healthy fats?
Fatigue is a major problem for some of us. Any recommendations, supplement-wise? There's a 5-hour energy drink and that kind of thing. Anything you recommend for supplement overcome daily fatigue exercise?
Yeah, when people come in and talk about fatigue, usually I get asked, like, is there a multivitamin? Do I need a B complex? What is something that can help me with my energy level? I think the things that are more impactful with fatigue are making sure that you're adequately hydrated, because a lot of people tend towards dehydration, and dehydration 100% will compound your fatigue a lot. So staying hydrated and then working in physical activity as much as you can, I think those two things are more impactful on energy levels than any supplement that you could take. And the other thing about food that I would mention is just making sure that you're eating at some regular intervals so that your blood sugar doesn't go down too low. Sometimes we feel a little bit sluggish when our blood sugar is low. So I never recommend a specific vitamin, nutrient when it comes to fatigue, but rather adequate hydration, regular physical activity, and consistent meal intake.
Did you bring any cards?
Oh my gosh. No, just my email.
Put your email.
There.
Okay, I copied that.
Thank you. Wouldn't all of this depend on the person's genetic compositions? Because, I overheard I heard the gentleman's comment about triglyceride. If you have a condition of having high triglyceride, would eating affect it much?
So there are some people who have high triglycerides, high cholesterol, and sometimes that is definitely a genetic component. I had a friend when I was in biotech. He was a triathlete and he was a vegetarian and he had high cholesterol. That was just a familial thing that he had to be aware of. It had nothing to do with his diet, and there was nothing he could do that was going to change that. So there are some individual variations that come into play. So when I talk about nutrition and here are some recommendations, I want to make sure that these are healthy recommendations overall, because even if I advise someone this is a good eating pattern, that might not change that cholesterol number, because it could be a hereditary issue that a dietary intervention may not move too much, but it's still good advice on its own.
How much difference is there in brown rice to white rice as far as, being favorable?
Good question. Who can tell me why? Brown is the whole rice grain. So brown rice means we have the bran, the outside covering of the rice. It's the whole grain of the rice. White rice is only the starch. So if I gave someone with a continuous glucose monitor a half a cup of white rice and we watched their blood sugar, and then I gave them a half a cup of brown rice, their blood sugar responses will look different because that brown rice has more fiber, and so their blood sugar will go up a little more slowly, come down a little more slowly. So if you can substitute brown rice for white rice, you're still getting the same carbohydrates, but it's going to be digested more slowly. So it's going to be a little bit better complex carbohydrate than just white rice.
How do you feel about one meal a day, 1,500, 1,800 calories for weight reduction? Kind of not as a lifestyle, but as a sustained, 4 or 6 months at a time.
I don't love it, because let's say your goal is to lose some weight, and so you're going to eat one meal a day for 4 or 6 months until you come down to goal. Let's say that happens, goal. Then what happens? And you go back to your regular eating pattern, and then it's just going to go back up again. What I would rather is that we find a system to reduce calories or increase activity to where you lose weight very slowly but consistently over time, and you have a lifestyle that you feel like you could sustain forever. So I just watched the documentary on the Biggest Loser thing, right? I watched it all last night. That really rapid weight loss, and Bob Harper said it too, anyone can lose weight. It's keeping that weight off over a long period of time, because the way they lost weight was so extreme, it was not sustainable. So if weight loss is the goal, we have to make little small tweaks that are going to drop down, but that can be maintained over time. Because if that intensive intervention ends, you're likely to just regain that weight over time.
Not a cancer question specifically, but we're flooded now with all these commercials and things you read about brain health and supplements for that. Any dietary thoughts on things?
Nothing that is any different from the dietary guidelines for Americans. I think the things that are best going to help brain health, honestly, are good sleep hygiene, some kind of learning, and social engagement, which have nothing to do with nutrition, but I think those are the best things that we can do for brain health.
I don't see
Unless you skip one year. Yeah.